Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Charles. This week we're reading stories of Slavic fairy tales, and, well, these first stories all share the Crystal Mountain in common. This is an interesting one. This is a tale of a husband searching desperately for his wife and finding help where he least expects it. This is Time and the Kings of the Elements. There was once a married pair who loved each other tenderly. The husband would not have given up his wife for all the riches in the world, while her first thought was how best to please him. So they were very happy, and lived like two grains in one ear of corn. One day, while working in the fields, a great longing came over him to see her, so without waiting for the hour of sunset he ran home. Alas, she was not there. He looked high and low, he ran here, there, and everywhere. He wept, he called to her, all in vain. His dear wife was not to be found. So heartbroken was he that he no longer cared to live. He could think of nothing but the loss of his dear wife and how to find her again. At last he determined to travel all over the world in search of her. So he began to walk straight on, trusting God to direct his steps. Sad and thoughtful he wandered for many days until he reached a cottage close by the shores of a large lake. Here he stopped, hoping to find out news. On entering the cottage he was met by a woman who tried to prevent him from entering.
"What do you want here, unlucky wretch?" said she. "If my husband sees you, he will kill you instantly."
"Who is your husband, then?" asked the traveler.
"What? You do not know him? My husband is the Water King. Everything under water obeys him. Depart quickly, for if he finds you here, he will certainly devour you."
"Perhaps, after all, he would take pity on me. But hide me somewhere, for I am worn and weary, and without shelter for the night." So the Water Queen was persuaded, and hid him behind the stove. Almost immediately after the Water King entered, he had barely crossed the threshold when he called out, "Wife, I smell human flesh. Give it to me quickly, for I am hungry." She dared not disobey him, so she had to tell him of the traveler's hiding place. The poor man became terribly frightened and trembled in every limb and began to stammer out excuses.
"I assure you, I've done no harm. I came here in search of news of my poor wife. Oh, do help me to find her. I cannot live without her."
"Well," replied the Water King, "as you love your wife so tenderly, I will forgive you for coming here, but I cannot help you to find her, for I do not know where she is. Yet I remember seeing 2 ducks on the lake yesterday. Perchance she is one of them. But I would advise you to ask my brother the Fire King. He may be able to tell you more." Happy to have escaped so easily, he thanked the Water King and set out to find the Fire King. But the latter was unable to help him, and could only advise him to consult his other brother, the Air King. But the Air King, though he had traveled all over the earth, could only say he thought he had seen a woman at the foot of the Crystal Mountain. But the traveler was cheered at the news, and went to seek his wife at the foot of the Crystal Mountain, which was close to their cottage. On reaching it, he began at once to climb the mountain by making his way up the bed of the torrent that came rushing down there. Several ducks that were in the pools near the waterfall called out, "My good man, don't go up there. You'll be killed." But he walked fearlessly on till he came to some thatched cottages, at the largest of which he stopped. Here a crowd of wizards and witches surrounded him, screaming at the top of their voices,
"What are you looking for?"
"My wife," said he.
"She is here,"
they cried.
"but you cannot take her away unless you recognize her among 200 women all exactly like her."
"What? Not know my own wife? Why, here she is," said he, and he clasped her in his arms. And she, delighted to be with him again, kissed him fondly. Then she whispered,
"Dearest, though you knew me today, I doubt whether you will tomorrow, for there will be so many of us all alike. Now, I will tell you what to do. At nightfall go to the top of the Crystal Mountain, where live the King of Time and his court. Ask him how you may know me. If you are good and honest, he will help you. If not, he will devour you whole in one mouthful."
"I will do what you have advised me, dear one," he replied.
"But tell me, why did you leave me so suddenly?" If only you knew what I have suffered. I have sought you all over the world." "I did not leave you willingly," said she. "A countryman asked me to come and look at the mountain torrent. When we got there, he sprinkled some water over himself, and at once I saw wings growing out of his shoulders, and he soon changed his shape entirely into that of a drake. And I, too, became a duck at the same time, and whether I would or no, I was obliged to follow him. Here, I was allowed to resume my own form, and now there is but one difficulty of being recognized by you."
So they parted, she to join the other women, he to continue his way to the Crystal Mountain. At the top he found 12 strange beings sitting round a large fire. They were the attendants of the King of Time. He saluted them respectfully. "What dost thou want?" said they.
"I've lost my dear wife. Can you tell me how to recognize her among 200 other women all exactly alike?"
"No," said they, "but perhaps our king can." Then arose from the midst of the flames an old man with bald head and long white beard, who, on hearing his request, replied, "Though all these women be exactly alike, thy wife will have a black thread in the shoe of her right foot." So saying, he vanished, and the traveller, thanking the 12, descended the mountain. Sure it is that without the black thread he would never have recognized her. And though the magician tried to hide her, the spell was broken, and the two returned rejoicing to their home, where they lived happily ever after. And that is the story of Time and the Kings of the Elements. And we're slowly getting introduced to these 12 who live at the top of the Crystal Mountain. Well, I guess 13 now. And we're going to learn more about them in Friday's episode. But this story, I do enjoy it very much. It's very familiar, this hunting for a lost loved one all around the world and going to the elements to find it, but there's a nice twist on it at the end. I do enjoy that. This is Dan Scholes for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As always, thank you so much for listening.